Good evening. This is the World News at 6 on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. My name is Chioma Innocent, and here are the top stories. Federal government bans creation of new tertiary institutions for 7 years. Federal government names Kwam Won Aviation Security Ambassador after airport incident. Meanwhile, federal government withdraws criminal complaint against Ibom Air passenger, reduces Kwam Won's ban, and PDP says total loyalty non-negotiable. Details now. Thank you for staying tuned. The World News at 6 begins with the federal government imposing a 7-year moratorium on the establishment of new federal universities, polytechnics and colleges of education, citing the proliferation of underutilized institutions, overstretched resources and a drop in academic quality. The decision was approved at Wednesday's Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by President Bola Tinubu at the Presidential Villa in Abuja, following a presentation by the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa. More details will emerge from this report. In a recent development, the federal government has announced plans to engage Fuji star Wasiu Ayinde Marshal, popularly known as Kwam Won, as an ambassador for proper airport security protocol after the recent controversy over his conduct at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. This was disclosed today by the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, in a statement outlining resolutions to recent cases of unruly behavior at Nigerian airports. Keyamo said the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority had agreed to reduce Kwam Won's flight ban to 1 month and would work with the musician to promote awareness on acceptable conduct within the aviation space. The Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, FAN, will lead the engagement process. The NCAA is to reduce his flight ban to 1 month, while FAN will also work with the music star with a view to engaging him as an ambassador for proper airport security protocol going forward. The minister added that the decision followed appeals from well-meaning individuals as well as Kwam Won's public show of penitence over the August 5 incident in which he allegedly obstructed a value jet aircraft's movement. Keyamo also revealed that the NCAA would withdraw its criminal complaints against the artist. In a related development, the federal government has withdrawn its criminal complaint against Ms. Comfort Imanson, the passenger accused of unruly behavior aboard an Ibom air flight, and reduced the flight ban imposed on Fuji music star Wasiu Ayinde Marshal, popularly known as Kwam Won. The Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, a senior advocate of Nigeria, announced the decision today following consultations with stakeholders in the aviation sector. According to the minister, the resolutions were reached after reviewing the incident, considering appeals from well-meaning individuals and considering the remorse shown by those involved. Keyamo revealed that Ibom Air has agreed to withdraw its complaint against Ms. Imanson, who was arrested over the August 10 incident. Following the withdrawal, the airport command and the police prosecutor will take steps to secure her release from Kirikiri prison this week. The Airline Operators of Nigeria has also agreed to lift the lifetime flying ban placed on her, with details to be announced soon. Meanwhile, the People's Democratic Party (PDP) has warned that it will not tolerate disloyalty from any member, stressing that total commitment to the party's cause is non-negotiable. Speaking at a press conference in Abuja today, the PDP National Publicity Secretary Debo Ologunagba said the party will rely on its constitution to ensure members remain committed to its course. Responding to a question about the recent conditions set by the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, for the success of the November 15 and 16 National Elective Convention, Ologunagba emphasized that the PDP is about the people and not any individual. He noted that the party has zero tolerance for anti-party activities and expects and demands total loyalty from all members, noting that anything short of that will not be tolerated, as the party shall invoke the relevant sections of its constitution to enforce. The Vice-Chancellor of the Lagos State University of Education, LASUED, Professor Bilkis Lafiaji Okune, has said that 4,500 prospective students will be subjected to drug tests before being admitted into the school. She narrated the panic a drug-addicted student created in the school months ago and said the measure has become imperative to sanitize the university community. The educationist said that LASUED authorities had liaised with the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency NDREA in the university's 2024-2025 admissions. The LASUED board stressed that no matter how sterling a student's university tertiary matriculation examination UTME and SSCE results were, it would not confer the student an express admission until such student was certified free of drug use. She acknowledged the actual cost of the drug test to the school, but said it was worth doing to foster students' mental and academic coherence and raise the standard for the new university. Former Anambra State Governor and 2023 Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi has been captured wearing an African Democratic Congress ADC branded cap. Obi wore the cap while campaigning for the party's candidate Justina Azuka in the Onitsha North State constituency by-election slated for Saturday. Mrs. Azuka, the widow of the late Labour Party lawmaker for Onitsha North, entered the race under the ADC platform following the murder of her husband last December. You will recall that the late Azuka was abducted on December 24, 2024 along Ogunobankpa Road in inland town Onitsha while returning home for Christmas. His body was later found at the Second Niger Bridge on February 6, 2025. In a statement today, Peter Obi wrote that he is standing with Mrs. Azuka for Onitsha North 1 constituency. He called on all well-meaning Nigerians at home and beyond to rally behind her candidacy. Meanwhile, Deputy National Youth Leader of the African Democratic Congress ADC Chinonso Obasi has described the interrogation and detention of Aminu Tambuwal, former Sokoto governor, by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission EFCC, as a witch hunt aimed at silencing the opposition. In a statement today, Obasi alleged that the administration of President Tinubu is using the EFCC to target opposition figures, particularly those in the ADC. In his words, this is not about justice, but about silencing dissent. It is about weaponizing state power to intimidate the opposition ahead of 2027. It is about sending a chilling message to every voice that there's a challenge the ruling cabal. The ADC youth leader accused the All Progressives Congress APC of being terrible at governance and said releasing Tambuwal, whom he called a big fish, was a threat to the party. Obasa described Tambuwal as a politician of integrity with cemented achievement as governor, which earned him a dinosaur status in Nigerian politics. He urged Nigerians, especially students, workers, farmers, market women, clergy, and unemployed youths to resist the alleged capture of state institutions by partisan interests. You're still listening to the World News at 6 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. We'll take a short break and be back with more stories. Stay tuned.
Thank you for staying with us. In a very recent development going on to the Labour Party, the leadership of the Julius Aburi faction of the Labour Party has actually warned INEC against excluding party's logo in the August 16 by-election. The publicity secretary of the Labour Party faction, Obiora Ifo, gave the warning recently in a statement which was released on Tuesday. Now, Ifo said that the party would seek the nullification of the election in line with the provisions of the law if the names of its candidates were not included in the by-elections. He called on well-meaning Nigerians to prevail on INEC to respect the constitution and the electoral laws in the discharge of its duties. Therefore, he forecalled the Supreme Court judgment, which was delivered on April 4, declaring the issue of leadership as an internal affair of the party. In the meantime, speaking via development, the Labour Party has urged INEC not to be used as an institute to create chaos within political parties. Meanwhile, the federal government of Nigeria has announced a 7-year moratorium on the establishment of new federal tertiary institutions in the country. This announcement was made by the Minister of Education, Tunji Alausa, after the Federal Executive Council meeting led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Meanwhile, in a very recent development, the Obedient movement recently accused President Bola Ahmed Tinubu of creating chaos within any political party Peter Obi decides to find himself. This statement, however, has raised rancors amongst political party members. Yunusa Tanko, who is the director of the Labour movement, actually stated that this method has always been the system, and wherever any political party Peter Obi decides to be part of, then indeed there usually is chaos within that political party. Chuma Innocent, let's look at a situation with Comfort Emerson. One would say it's a very good development, isn't it? Considering what we talked about yesterday, hearing both sides. She has been released. She has come on her social media to disclose that she's well and hearty, but that she's going through a lot of pains and the treatment, but that she would like to take some time to rest and treat herself medically before she now talks about her own side of the story. One would say that it's an example of when Nigerians collectively speak in one voice, change is actually very prominent. And it also states that once Nigerians are divided, you wouldn't get the needed change. Also, there have been calls on the Minister of Aviation, Festus Keyamo, for his swift intervention in trying to look into both sides of the story. But other persons believe that if Kwam Wan's matter hadn't occurred and the manner with which it was handled, maybe that the case of Comfort wouldn't have been expediently done, possibly with how they hurriedly took her to court and remanded her in Kirikiri prison. She may have actually done her term without no one listening to her. Do you think that that would have been the scenario if Kwangwan's incident did not happen first?
Many Nigerians are actually happy about the turn of events and that she has been released from custody. Personally, I'm very happy for her. She's very lucky that this happened. But one thing that will not leave the minds of Nigerians is how these two issues were treated. How the person who has a personal relationship with the president was treated from the person who is just an ordinary Nigerian. We're not going to forget that in a hurry because it's there, is glaring for everybody to see. But and also Kwam being appointed as by the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria and the federal government. This reminds me of when Naira Marley was also appointed as an NDLEA.
Aviation, who felt that it was a way whereby you committed a crime, then you become an ambassador to preach that such a thing doesn't happen. But Nigerians were angry. Why are you making somebody who erred to actually be an ambassador? So in other words, you promote anybody who does something wrong. And I think Festus Keyamo has responded by saying Comfort too will be an ambassador. The Nigerians should just relax. The processing is step by step. That's a recent statement now that Comfort too will be given such an ambassadorial role. So the idea is you guys will be the ones to push the idea of good behavior amongst Nigerians, especially as passengers and even as members of the airline crew and all of that. You're going to be the one to emulate and preach good behavior. But do you think he would have responded that Comfort will also be considered as an ambassador if Nigerians had not berated the fact that they made Kwam Wan an ambassador and not Comfort?
I actually don't think so. I think it was the way Nigerians, raised so much dust about the differences in the treatment, and that's why Comfort is getting this treatment she's getting now. That's the reason why the Minister of Aviation is saying, Comfort will also be part of the ambassador for peace and good conduct on the airlines across the country. So like I said earlier, she's really lucky that this is happening. She was given the nickname Kwam 2. You understand? And people are saying, hope there will be no Kwam 3. You understand? So she's very lucky with the way everything has turned out. But they still need to hear other sides of the story. That air hostess, the person,
They
all these
have.
people that were
Based
involved still need to be questioned.
From what first of all of that was done, that was basically. Did you read Festus' tweet this morning? Did you look at his entire tweet?
The Minister of Aviation, the tweet that he put out, yes, about the investigation that was carried out and the way he numbered it 1, 2, 3.
That was exactly what happened. They had listened. If you had read the tweet, it would have told you the conclusion was that the passenger, Comfort, erred, and the crew member also erred. You instigated something, you propel someone to act in a certain way, you're rude, you are vindictive. So both sides erred. The fault was you did not carry out a comprehensive investigation before you remanded this lady in Kirikiri
Because
prison.
she's the one who went to prison while the
So you
other
just
person
listened to the
was left
reports
free.
of the airline crew, and then obviously because of the optics that the pictures that it took and videos presented, and then you just came to a conclusion that that was what it was.
And the person
Meanwhile,
who
that's
exposed
not
her
the
nudity
scenario.
as well is ought to, suffer the same treatment that Comfort going to
but
court
they
and
have
all of that.
denied, the airline has denied that they were not the ones who exposed that video.
So whose hand opened her clothes in the video?
So when you're talking, Choma, be coordinated. You're talking about who exposed the video. The airport crew member said they were not the ones. So if they have denied it, we don't know who. But based on what we saw, it was one of the crew members who, quite while they were dragging her, and they say it's a woman, the lady, the Janella Neely, was one who pulled it off her dress. Others said it was possibly the fact that the dress was already light. But we saw that video clearly. It was pulled off. Like I told you, that
was
thing
pinned.
has that thing has a pin. So when somebody deliberately pulls it off from your jean and all that. But Choma, the thing is, the method, the conclusion they came to now, obviously they have taken their time to listen to witnesses, that is those who were also passengers in that air. Remember, we discussed all of this yesterday. That whenever, before you quickly make an announcement, before you quickly take somebody in, do a proper investigation. In fact, this matter ought to have been de-escalated instead of escalated. For example, the airport authorities themselves would have conducted a proper investigation before they sued this lady to court. You remember that the excuse they gave was the ValueJet situation is different from this because ValueJet did not intend to
sue Kwam
One. So the airport authorities is within their discretion on how they want to handle passenger issues. But what made them to be unprofessional in this instance is you did not ask questions. You did not know if you could speak to any of the crew members when that incident occurred, possibly right there, to cover all the phases and then know what to do next. But you wanted to maybe grandstand or to be in the news for some reason or the other, and you accelerated the process. Now, Festus Keyamo is the minister. Obviously, it is what the airport authority and Aibom Air disclosed to him that made him give a swift action of do what needs to be done. It is when Nigerians reacted the way they did, everyone called out the government. That was when they realized that, okay, they needed to do a comprehensive investigation of what happened. And that was when Achimogu, the director of public relations or something of aviation, who now said, please, passengers on that plane that witnessed what happened, can you present yourself? We need to know and corroborate from Comfort's account.
To get witness reports.
You understand? Now, aside from that, these are primary persons, primary witnesses who were in that cabin crew who must have followed through the event from the inception up until it got to the point where things became physical or the altercation became what it became and it became an embarrassing national situation. But Choma, I think this is a lesson to professional bodies that live by your ethics. The way things are done in this part of the world, to be honest with you, Choma, it can be debilitating. It's not just the air hostesses sometimes, even waitresses. You go to some restaurants, the way once they see you, they just judge you and conclude. It's even preferable when you're with a man. They seem to give you some sort of respect.
Esther, that is so true.
When
that
you're
is
with
so
a man.
true.
But if you're alone and you dress in a certain way, there's this conclusion about what you do and your personality and all of that. It's a very wrong thing.
They'll just be
It's
unnecessarily
very
rude.
unprofessional. Exactly. They speak to you in a very condescending manner. Or maybe this person is who this is, a lady of the night, like the other lady, like the woman even said, somebody said that's what she said. They just conclude about your person, and it's wrong. If that lady was with a man in that plane, I don't think that things would have gotten to this point. We still operate a patriarchal society, but at this point in time, we ought to have advanced in the way we do things. If things are done in a professional way, it should be concluded in a professional way. Meanwhile, let's move on to another situation, because I know we have another program coming up. So the national coordinator of the Obedient Movement, Yunusa Tanko, he says that he is saying or accusing the president of causing instability in political parties where Peter Obi shows interest in. Okay, so on a particular program, a monitor program on AIT, he says he alleged that the current administration is pursuing what he described as Operation Do Not Allow Peter Obi Have a Ticket. He expressed confidence that Obi would secure the presidential ticket of any political party he chooses to contest under. So he says anywhere Obi's name is mentioned, it rings a bell, and that is where they begin to put in any interest to create chaos. Do you think that's what it is? You think it's because Obi is part of the ADC that persons like Tambuwal, Ihediocha, and other big wigs
I've been invited for questioning by the EFCC.
Do you think that's
and also the situation within the Labour? But right now, Obi is only affiliated with the Labour Party and the ADC. And earlier today, he shunned the Labour Party to actually campaign for the ADC candidate somewhere else.
Do you think, based on what Yunusa Tanko is alleging or alluding, that it's because Peter Obi is in the ADC and that's the reason why all of a sudden any party he belongs, they create chaos? Do you think it's because he is part of the ADC that all of a sudden the EFCC is now reopening cases that has not been heard of for a long while and inviting them? The EFCC has said this has nothing to do with politics. They said they're basically doing their job. But all this while, what happened? And then all of a sudden their cases are resuscitated.
Well, one thing we've seen is with Obi in one party or the other, for the people who were invited by the EFCC, if they did not have a case to answer, I don't think they would have been invited by the EFCC. So for Tambuwal, if he has questions answered about the 189 billion, if there wasn't that, he wouldn't have been invited.
While you did not know that you were going to revisit the cases of these individuals. That is, again, would you blame anyone for thinking in that line of thought, for having that thought, that direction process, in realizing that why is it that all of a sudden you are reopening Tambuwal's case? You haven't invited Tambuwal all this while, or some persons who were in the APC who defected to the ADC, and all of a sudden you realize you needed to reopen. I am not saying that it is wrong that the EFCC is doing what they're supposed to do, but could this be one of the scenarios that Yunusa Tanko is pointing out? Also, the irreconcilable differences within the Labour Party, it festered and festered. It has gotten to a point where it's become a diabetic sore that no form of antidote can actually resolve the issue. If you look at how long the situation in the Labour Party and how it degenerated to this point.
One thing we've seen is with the way the opposition is moving, you wouldn't even blame the ruling party if they do anything to try to stop them. But Yunusa Tanko is just saying his own, is in the opposition. So many people in the opposition have blamed the APC for the wars within their party. So if that's really the case, if he has some form of proof, maybe he should present that to Nigerians. But saying because Obi is in one party or the other, and that's why these things are happening within the party, that may not be true. I don't really subscribe to that. If you don't have a skeleton in your cupboard.
Would you now also say it's because Obi is not in the PDP, that's the reason why the PDP seems to be disintegrating?
The PDP is disintegrating on its own. Obi is not there, so that doesn't have anything to do with the APC.
Does this clarify anything that is being said about Yunusa Tanko? Does this ascertain it that, it's because Peter Obi is in the ADC or he is in the Labour Party, all of a sudden they're having internal wranglings, internal situation? Chuma, I had this conversation yesterday with Mr. Segun Shokwiton on the Evening Rush, and he said something. The characters of the persons in the ADC, it shouldn't be surprising. You want to unseat this administration in 2027. You must come with clean hands. You need to be fortified on all fronts. How can you try to defeat something that you're accusing the person of, and that's what you are? How can you have financial malfeasance, corruption cases against you, and you're alleging that is the personality of the president, and you want to unseat the president, and you want
him to look the other way?
No, not even him. What has that got to do with him? And you want Nigerians to believe that you are better than the person that you are accusing of something that you are also part of something that you are also involved in. I don't know if you understand what
I understand what you mean.
You have cases to respond to. Your hands are not clean. You've been involved in a lot of things, right? You are also alleging that is the personality of the president, and that Nigerians cannot have such a personality as a president.
Like pot calling kettle black.
Thank you very much. So that is the reason why there's a lot of questions about the persons in the ADC, that they look like individuals who just have the same interest like the president, nothing different. So how do you intend to eschew trust from Nigerians that this is basically what we are, and that we're better than the person that we want to unseat? What differentiates you from them?
You know, I've seen comments from many Nigerians who say they do not care. Anything is better than the APC at this moment.
They do not care.
And what I will always say is, remember 2015, then it was anything but Jonathan. And we went from Jonathan to Buhari, and we saw what played out. Ever since then, many Nigerians have not been able to go back to what it used to be. So instead of saying anything but the APC, we should rather look out for credible candidates and ensure that these people have credible people around them as well. A lot of people see ADC as the party to beat in 2027. So you have people with soiled hands jumping to that party, the party to beat.
APC or ADC?
See the ADC like as a viable opposition to beat the APC in 2027. Right, so they are jumping into that ship, believing that with the number of people we have here, with the political heavyweights,
who do you think is credible in that ADC? Something different or someone different than what a couple of them in the opposition describe President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as?
Esther, I can't point out one person. I keep talking about Aisha Binani going. It's that particular one was it was a really bust brain. It was a really bust brain moment for me, because what do you mean Aisha Binani is going to join the ADC? Like, what are you bringing? We saw what happened in 2023. It's really, really mind blowing, you know, and that's why Ononuga said a lot of these people, they don't have ideology. They don't have the only thing they have is hate for Tinubu. I mean, Nigerians say that hate is enough. If it is only hate that is driving the opposition at this moment, is enough. But we need to be very careful of just saying anything but the APC, anything but Tinubu, so we don't go from frying pan into the fire. Remember 2015, it was anything but Jonathan. They were carrying casket with his face on it. They did Occupy Nigeria. They did Subsidy Must Not Be Gone. Everything. We went into change. And the thing about change is it can either be changed in a positive manner or in a negative manner, and the change we saw was not very positive.
All right, Chairman Innocent, and quite an interesting convo with you in the World News at 6 this evening. My name is Esther Nwachukwu.
My name is Chairman Innocent. Thank you for listening. Do stay tuned. The evening rush will be coming up shortly.